everyone. My name is Bill Tuohig, here at FDIC 2026 in front of the drill yard, and I'm here to talk about cooperative purchasing today. My role is I am VP of Fire Engineering Training, and we recently received an award through Sourcewell for a cooperative purchasing contract. But it became clear that not everyone is necessarily familiar with cooperative purchasing contracts, and so that's what we're going to talk about today. So joining me today is Crosby Grindle. Crosby, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Thanks, Bill. Yeah, you bet. So my name's Crosby Grindle, and I work with Sourcewell in helping them with their strategic development of public safety contracts. I have a long career in the public safety world, wore a uniform a long time ago, and for the last 20 or so years I've been working with cooperative purchasing programs, growing and building them, working for the Professional Association for Co-ops, and now being able to support Sourcewell over the last 7 or 8 years. So.
Awesome.
Doesn't make me famous, but hopefully qualified to talk with you a little bit about cooperative purchasing.
Clearly qualified, for sure. Yeah, thank you. So, all right, so just jumping in, for departments that may not fully understand what cooperative purchasing is, how it works, can you talk a little bit about how Sourcewell simplifies the buying process, especially compared to a traditional RFP process?
You bet, Bill. You said a lot there. You said simplify and RFP process in the same phrase, and that's something you don't usually hear put together, right?
True.
And so that's one of the things that's really cool about cooperative purchasing, and it's been a fun journey because I've never met a fire chief yet who says, I got into the fire service because I love the government procurement process and the RFP process, right? And so this is a great way to satisfy your procurement requirements without having to go through that process, because a traditional RFP process involves a lot of work. First of all, you got to work with your procurement official, and they don't always understand what you want or need. You have to go through the advertising, you have to write the scope, you have to receive bids. The suppliers don't always like that either, because they got to write those responses, and sometimes they know that you're not the supplier that they want, so they might even be reluctant to respond, which creates other problems for you in your procurement process. And then there's the evaluation process, et cetera, right? This goes on, and it can take quite a bit of time. So imagine this, Sourcewell is a government agency that creates contracts that are designed to satisfy your procurement requirements, because as a government agency, they're able to do their own RFP process in a special way that results in contracts like the ones Fire Engineering Training has that satisfy your local government procurement requirements. So this means you get to work with who you want to work with in the time frame you want to work with it, simplifying that process, and as a bonus, it's usually accepted by your procurement official.
That's fantastic, yep. And so when a solution like Fire Engineering Training is awarded a contract through Sourcewell, what does that vetting process look like? You know, what do vendors have to go through? How do you run a process like that? Why should departments feel confident that the process Sourcewell applies is rigorous and can be trusted through the contract?
Yeah, great question. So Sourcewell, again, as a government agency, has a government procurement department made up of procurement officials who work their procurement process. They've been around for almost 50 years, and so they have a well-established, well-documented procurement process that's used to the tune of $14 billion last fiscal year by about 50,000 government agencies across the country. So wow. that alone gives you an indication of how many governments are trusting that process. But the process is intentionally designed to be very transparent and very clear and well documented and very objective, right? So there's a published scoring system that the procurement official used to evaluate the responses for a given solicitation, and then that results in the awards that they do. I say awards because in our world, because we're trying to meet the needs of tens of thousands of governments around the country, we often do multiple awards because it's also a very broad scope. So in this case, we had a public safety training and simulation solicitation. That included everything from law enforcement, burn buildings, to training systems like Fire Engineering Training provide. So it means we sometimes do multiple awards. In this case, there were over 66 respondents, I think, and Sourcewell only made 17 awards. And so that's like a 25% award rate. So I would say that's pretty selective.
Absolutely. Yeah. I have to say, going through that process, that we definitely felt the rigor on our side, and when we got the award, we recognized that that really is a big deal, and we really appreciated that.
It's something to be proud of. You guys did a great job.
Absolutely. So Now, how are fire departments using cooperative purchasing contracts today to accelerate access to training and technology? I mean, especially when it comes to timing and compliance, those being so critical.
So I mentioned many years ago, I used to wear the uniform, and in fact, a lot of years ago, I'm realizing, but my last uniform position was chief of a training division. So I can really understand the product that you deliver and the value of that. And in the fire service, we're really good at responding to incidents. We're really good at planning for them. We're pretty good at prevention and even hands-on training. But we're often not really good at understanding and recognizing the amount of time it takes to work through the procurement process and all of the compliance side of training, record keeping, and things like that, right? That's not the fun stuff that we like to do and that we see around FDIC, right? We're not sitting around talking about all the administrative side of things. And again, it's the nature of the industry for chiefs to get promoted up to chief, often without a lot of training or experience on administrative functions and procurement functions. It's just the nature of the beast, right? They've got a lot of other things to worry about and to be good at. And so that is where smart fire chiefs, I see, are leaning into this cooperative purchasing program and the option of using a cooperative contract to satisfy their procurement requirements, allowing them to buy what they want to buy, when they want to buy it, and with the organizations and agents and businesses like yours that they want to work with. And as a bonus to this, most procurement officials already use Sourcewell because most of them are using it for other things, even outside of the fire service. So this is one chance for the fire chief to actually go to their procurement official and have a positive interaction, right? Because the procurement official go, oh my gosh, this is great, chief. I didn't know you use Sourcewell too. You know, we love Sourcewell. So that's an added bonus.
Nice. Well, and so if a department is evaluating a training platform like fire engineering training, can you talk a little bit about how that process with Sourcewell compares to an RFP process, especially when it comes to things like timelines, budget approvals, internal procurement hurdles, just some of those things like that?
So the main thing a Sourcewell contract does is it allows both sides. It allows fire engineering training and the department to focus on making sure they understand what each other wants, right? Making sure, in your case, what the customer wants, and in the department's case, who they really want to work with. And they can start working on building that relationship and trust, which we know is super important in this industry, right?
Yeah.
And that's way more important to the fire chief and the department than worrying about a procurement process, or worst case, getting to the end of a procurement process and having to work with some supplier that they don't know and that they don't have familiarity with and they don't, quite frankly, want to work with. So the real advantage here is being able to work with the supplier you want to work with, and in this case, fire engineering training, and in your case, being able to build that relationship and sell on your value and your relationship and trust, and not have to worry about did you check all the right boxes in some RFP process and come out, the winner on the other side of that.
Absolutely.
Once that relationship is established, then the agency can feel confident that their procurement requirements are probably going to be checked pretty quickly, and it's almost an immediate purchase opportunity, assuming there is budget. Now, Sourcewell doesn't provide the budgeting for that, but assuming it's budgeted, then that's great. Sourcewell does have partnerships and other programs with funding, though. Like we have a funding navigator program, which helps find grant resources, so there are some options there, too.
Great. So, all right, so what advice would you give fire departments that may not realize they can access solutions like fire engineering training through Sourcewell today? What steps should they take to get started?
Well, the good news is if their agency, or at least the city or county or the communities they serve, are probably already using Sourcewell. I mentioned there's tens of thousands of agencies already using Sourcewell. They might not even realize it because sometimes contracts show up or get used in ways and the chief might not even realize it. So the good news is they probably already have an access to Sourcewell, but the path forward, it doesn't really matter whether they are using Sourcewell or not, or even if they know or don't know, it's really the same path. And that path is to reach out to Sourcewell. You can go to their website, www.sourcewell-mn for Minnesota.gov, and you can browse contracts there, see what contracts are available. You can get in touch with your government accounts rep at Sourcewell, and they can help you with that process as well. And the good news is, remember, these are government employees, and they're offering assistance with this no-cost government-to-government service, so they're not sales folks that are going to wear you out. So there's no harm in reaching out to Sourcewell and saying, hey, I want to talk to my government accounts rep there. And so that's a great way to do that. You can also talk with a sales rep that you're working with at Fire engineering training or any awarded supplier, because most of them are trained on the Sourcewell process. So there's a couple different paths forward. There is a phone number I want to give. I want to make sure I get this right. It's 877-585-9706. And so that's a phone number you can call to get in touch with your government account rep as well.
All right, fantastic. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. This is really exciting from our point of view. The Sourcewell process is really rigorous and can be trusted, and it's amazing to know that that's out there now and that people can take advantage of that. So if you haven't already, please check and see if you have a Sourcewell contract, or if you have a Sourcewell account, I should say. And if you don't, reach out to your Sourcewell contact and get going with that, because this is an exciting way of making the process easier, getting access to the training solutions that you need, and we'll see you on the other side. Thank you.